Okay, here we are, NAMM 2019. The legendary Billy Sherwood, man of 4 strings and 4 ventricles. A big-hearted bass man.
And a whole lot of yes in
And
his
a
heart.
whole lot of yes.
How are you guys?
Good,
How are
man.
you?
Thank
How are
you.
you?
Great. I love your rose-colored glasses.
Thank you. They help me see
They
the
help you
world.
get through NAMM.
They do.
Scene.
It's a little buffer. It's nice. Just
So
takes the
happy
edge
to
off.
see you. The last time we saw you,
Yeah.
Lon and I were actually on the
Yes,
The
Cruise.
cruise,
That was
the
20
Yes Cruise to the
I've
Edge.
seen him since, because that was 2015,
Right.
which means he's carried the mantle of the music for now, going on 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. It's amazing
Since-
it's been that
yeah,
long. isn't
since
it?
Chris passed.
Amazing.
And what was really poignant about that show was that you put Chris's bass on the stage before you started,
Yeah.
really honoring him.
Yeah.
And everyone loved that, to see Chris's bass. And that's one of the ones that I photographed for
Oh, that's
my next
great.
book that'll be coming out.
That's great.
That's his 64 Rickenbacker, and that's the one that you guys put up there. What was
Yeah.
really beautiful for me is at the end of that cruise, the end of one of the shows, is they had the whole band sitting there doing a Q&A.
Yeah.
And I was really moved by some of the things that you said about Chris and how, because someone asked you, what does it feel like to step into Chris's shoes?
Right.
And so tell us
Yeah.
what you told everybody.
Well, it's been a while. I don't remember verbatim, but the concept remains that, I never imagined in a million years for openers that would take place. We all thought Chris was going to outlive us all, even though he lived a very hardy life.
He seemed indestructible.
He certainly did. He was like a tank. He'd
Yes.
just go through anything. But as fate has it, unfortunately we lost him. And yeah, it was an honor to be asked by him directly to do the job. And by the same token, to have the band's full support that was the right decision. And then when I went out on that tour, it was a lot of strange emotions all mixed into one, from sadness to joy to excitement to sorrow, and it just had a full range for me personally. And now, as you said, we're 4 years later almost here, or whatever it is. I've grown more comfortable with the role, and everything has seemed to fall into place in terms of the stars aligning and why this has happened.
It's meant to be. I mean, I remember you saying that
Yeah.
Chris, you had reservations, and you were just like, man, I don't know. And he kind of said, no, you have to, you must.
Yeah,
do it."
he wanted Yes to thrive and to survive and to go forward. And one of my things I said to him was just, if it doesn't work, it's going to all be my fault. So this is going to be
Put a lot of
horrible.
pressure on yourself.
But he said, go for it, and just do what you do, and play the way you play, and play the notes, and you'll be fine.
Billy, for
So,
instrumental reference, looking at these basses,
yeah.
what was your decision on the bass that you were going to play with Yes? Did it change from what you've done with all your production work or your other bands,
Well,
or the previous Yes incarnations you played in?
It's interesting because people ask me, because the obvious thing was, that was the one funny thing Chris and I talked about. At one point, I asked him to put out a statement so people know what's going on, so I don't look like I'm an ambulance chaser,
Right.
and tell them what's happening. So he released a statement and said, I'm dealing with my hospital stuff, and Billy's going to fill in, and I'll be back, and I thought that was beautiful. And so a couple of days later, the fans get a hold of this information, obviously, and I'm getting more messages than normal. And a lot of them reflected the same thing, which was, of course you're going to play a Rickenbacker, And I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to play what I like to. So Chris calls me a couple days later, says, so I guess, it looks like it's been well received, and, it's all good. And I said, yeah, there's this one thing, though. Everyone's expecting me to play a Rickenbacker. And that's not my thing, man. And he kind of laughed and said, play the instruments you play and be comfortable in your world.
Exactly what he would say.
And just do what you do. So
You have to be you, too.
So to that end, that's one facet of the story of why I don't play Ricky's. But the other one was when I was a kid and I loved Chris and was worshiping this amazing bass player, and the look of that guitar in his hand, and I thought, that's what I'll get when I have the money. When I finally got the money and I went and played one in the store, ergonomically for me, where I wanted to pick was the pick guard that Chris would put his hand over or behind, right? But he was huge. So
Huge.
So I didn't put that perspective into play until I grabbed one. And then ergonomically, it just wasn't my thing. So I went into buying different basses, Kubikis, Spectres, Tobias, Fenders, Turners. I had a bunch of different basses. But along the way, Spectre always felt really good in my hands. The red Spectre that I played on the last tour that I used on Awaken, I bought when I was 16, you know? And then I have the H-string that Stuart built for me that I use on Going for the One, that he personally built that for me in '86. And so I have a history with those guys that's kind of family, and they've been really good to me. And I just, you know,
Billy,
after a while just was like, I'm playing these.
Tell
These
a
are what I wanna
layman
play.
who saw Yes in the 70s so many times, who knows that bass sound.
Yeah.
How is it that you evoke that sound with a different guitar?
Well, I always gravitated towards Chris Squire's bass sound, Jocko's bass sound, McCartney, and I'm an engineer, as you know, and so working with sound, I can kind of use EQs and effects and levels of distortion to simulate that Marshall crunch that Chris used to have purposely on stage, the Marshall, just to be crunchy a little bit. And I'm pretty good at being able to model those things. And over the years, decades ago, I had modeled Chris's sounds pretty well. And when we started working together, he ended up recording through my gear because he was like, there it is, you know, let's just use that sound.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I do it in concert with the bass itself, which sounds great coming off the bass. I dial those knobs to be a little bit more bright than most bass players might, get a little top end and crunch involved. And so that combination, it just sort of finds its way to being that kind of tone, you know?
And how's it like playing now on a regular basis with Steve Howe?
I love playing with Steve. He's a complete perfectionist, which I dig because it raises the bar, you know, as a player.
Because they're both scientists.
And he's so unique in his guitar playing. There's really no one else like that. And that makes it a joy and an honor to be able to stand on stage and go, dig who's my guitar player. You know what I mean? So I love playing with Steve, you know?
Well, we love coming to see you guys.
Yes,
And
Cool.
and thanks for keeping it real. And
Yeah, man.
you know, even
thanks
for
for
laymen
keeping
like
Chris
me,
alive.
so many Yes members come and go, but the music somehow kind of just
Well, the music
remains
is,
so consistent.
it's, you know, the music is now evolving into this younger generation where I'm doing shows now where maybe a 12-year-old kid's coming up to me going, I love Open Your Eyes, and I came in on Open Your Eyes. I said, don't tell anyone that. Tell them you came in on Fragile. You'll be much cooler.
I don't want to be cool. I'm a prog rocker. We're not cool. We were never cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's an amazing journey.
That's
And
awesome.
It's an honor to be in. Yes, and by the same token, doing the thing with Asia
Yeah.
fell out of the sky, and I replaced Wetton in Asia when he fell ill.
Don't forget those shoes,
You
the John
know?
Wetton shoes.
I mean-
one of the great voices and one of the great bass players of
Yeah.
prog rock.
I mean, UK, Crimson,
UK,
you know, Asia. John was
Amazing
an amazing
history.
Yeah.
Incredible history.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
we'll see you soon again on
Okay,
the
good.
Yes cruise
I'll see you
to
in a
the
matter
edge.
of days.
I
right?
know I will, Billy. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks.